Our average sold price is just under $314 right now. It looks like it's a seller's market. Nationally, they're saying it's a buyer's market. I'm not quite understanding how.
You can't take it 2 or 3 times unless the market keeps going up or you've had it for 15 years. But it is frustrating when sellers don't realize that you've drained every ounce of equity out already. You've already spent it before you've sold it, and now you want to sell it and you want to walk away with equity, and that's probably not going to happen.
I think if we had more inventory, we would be in a full buyer's market. So I think if you're within the average price range or lower, it's still a seller's market. But once you start getting in the higher price range, I don't think it's a seller's market because...
The Den, powered by the Lions Group, a show that explores trending topics in real estate, entrepreneurship, and personal growth. We're a small team of professionals with over $400 million in sales and nearly 2,000 successful transactions. You're listening to time-tested experts and industry leaders. Here's a refreshing look at real estate happenings and more. Welcome to The Den.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Den. And today we're going to talk about the market update. What has happened in the first half of 2025 and what can we expect for the next 2 quarters moving forward? Before I get to that, let me introduce my friends, my partners, my co-hosts, the fellow members of the Lions Group. To my right, Paul, Hammy the Rockberry, Aspen, the Ninja Gruin, and the boss, Shannon Martin Martinez. She's an arm's length away. My name is Ben, Market Madness Lions. And I'm here from the podium. Going to give you, I know, it's cheesy, Paul. Come on.
My eyebrow doesn't go up, but I try
it. You love my nicknames. You should come up with my nicknames. You should. We'd have a whole book, a whole conversation of. Yeah, we'll just leave that there. Okay. So we're going to talk about the first half of 2025, kind of locally. What are some of the things that have happened regionally? And then on a national level, what has transpired over the first 6 months in 2025? And what should we expect for the second half of the year? So, Paul, hand you the rock.
Yep.
On the stats. Give us some stats, some local stats. And give us some thoughts on the market. And what are your thoughts?
Local stats. Okay, well, we have our average sold price is just under $314 right now, as of this last month.
And you're talking specifically about San Juan County.
San Juan County.
Yeah.
So the local stats, it's actually, it looks like it's a seller's market. Nationally, they're saying it's a buyer's market. I'm not quite understanding how, but we also follow the national about 6 months. The trends will move on the national level, and we're about 6 to 9 months behind that.
Yeah, I always say a year to 2 years behind. That's the feeling, but the stats may be otherwise.
Do you want to do these?
No. I'm just chiming in. I'm just the peanut gallery.
Yeah, that should be your nickname, Peanut Gallery. So a couple of things that we look at is the absorption rate. We're under 3 months. So usually we're at 2.8 months right now, which means if no other homes go on the market in under 3 months, they're all gone.
All the inventory would be sold.
All the inventory would be sold.
And that's indicative of a seller's market, right?
Yeah, advantage to the seller. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's an equilibrium point just for our audience. And we've talked about this before, but there's an equilibrium point of about 5 to 6 months worth of inventory where it's not really a buyer's market. It's not really a seller's market. It's just kind of in between. Once the inventory levels go up, and let's say you have 9 or 10 or 12 months of inventory, we've been there. Remember those many years. That's a buyer's market. But when you only have less than 3 months of inventory available, it's still a seller's market.
Yeah. So, and then the days on the market is going down too. So that should be indicative of a seller's market.
Yeah.
But, buyers, we've noticed, and this is not really reflected in the stats, but I've been noticing doing the home inspecting too, that there's a lot more fall throughs, like deals are falling apart because of home inspections. So it means the buyers, I think, are not willing to lose the, low interest rate they have on what they have now to go into a higher payment for the bigger house. So there's not a lot of upward movement is what we're seeing. One of the other stats before you move on to somebody else that I saw, we are 32% median list price or median sold price nationally. We're 32% under that. So when people come in and say houses are so expensive, like this is one of the cheaper areas in the country. Here
Oh,
in New
so you're
Mexico.
talking about San Juan County in general. We're a third more affordable than the rest of the country on average.
That's a good way to put it.
Interesting. That's pretty interesting. Now you go north of the border.
I was going to say, not the case.
Not the case.
Right.
So it is quite the opposite.
Which is why a lot of times the people that are working in Durango want to live in New Mexico. Is a lot more affordable.
Yeah. Just an hour commute there. And once that becomes 4 lanes all the way through 2 and 2, I think we're going to see a lot more than that. And it's almost there. I mean, there's a stretch, the 2-lane highway, but I think we're going to see more of that.
Hi, I'm Ben Lyons, a partner at the Lyons Group. We're dedicated to making your real estate experience the best it can be. If you're looking to buy or sell, go to sjcbroker.com and watch our informational video series. These videos break down the process and shed some light on buying or selling. While you're there, schedule a private consultation with one of our partners. We'd love to sit down, talk strategy, and give you a real advantage in today's market. You deserve the best. So take those steps, and we'll see you soon. Now back to the show.
Yeah, the average price right now in Durango, all of Durango, not in town, out of town, is $981,000.
Ooh, almost $1 million.
That's such a far cry from where we were just saying our average price is
Yeah.
300,000. Right.
Yeah, right around 300,000.
You could see the affordability, why somebody would be willing to commute
Yeah.
to save that kind of money.
In that instance, we're not just a third more affordable, we're 66% more affordable.
But Bayfield is $518,000 and Ignacio is $165,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Ignacio's
only $165,000 for
Yep.
average sales
Yep.
price.
It's always been
Always
been
one.
less.
One thing that I will say is, when dealing with commercial stuff, and you guys could probably talk to this as well, I've been hearing it's a lot more business friendly in Pagosa and Bayfield right now than here in New Mexico. So a lot of people are saying we should go move up, start a business up there, and live down here.
Interesting. Wow, I wonder why that is. Why would people think that it's more business friendly in southern Colorado?
Yeah, that is not my experience in Colorado,
Yeah.
especially Durango and Pagosa. Maybe Bayfield.
Bayfield,
Probably, but Pagosa and Durango are not as business friendly as they should be. The permitting process is just so extensive and long and expensive, and it's frustrating definitely for people up there. But Bayfield and Ignacio, maybe I don't do too much in Ignacio, but
Yeah. And I think locally we've actually gotten a little bit better. I mean, my first experience when I first moved down here in the early 2000s was I felt like everybody at the city went to a no training. Like, what are you going to do for lunch? No. You want to bring in a business? No.
Right.
So we would go to the front desk and talk to the planners and stuff. Hey, what do you think about a coffee shop? No. I mean, you wouldn't even get it out, and there was a no. And they went down the line. Now that's eased up quite a bit. So it's interesting that you come back and it's kind of the opposite, that it's more friendly in southern Colorado than northern New Mexico, which is pretty wild. Shannon, what are your thoughts on the first half of this year? Anything surprising to you?
Yeah. So what's really surprising to me, going back to what you were talking about with your stats earlier, technically we say we're in a seller's market, but you're right. We are seeing more terminations, but what we're really seeing is we're seeing a few more. We're now sometimes seeing houses sit on the market, and we haven't had that in quite a while. And we started that kind of last year, but we're also seeing the comeback of sellers saying, I'll buy a home warranty for a buyer. I'll contribute to some closing costs. Because for a while that was unheard of. You weren't getting anything out of your
They
seller.
went to the no class too.
They didn't have to do anything to sell their house. And now you're finding a lot more where I think that really does show that we're getting into a bit of a buyer's market. Buyers are having advantages now. And you're right. Buyers have the right now to really look at that property and say, they don't have the pressure like they did the last couple of years, where if you're going to get a house, you're just going to have to settle for a couple of things. You're going to have to settle for some stuff and just to make it happen. Now buyers can say, I just really wasn't satisfied with that home inspection. It's just not good enough for what I'm paying in my mortgage and what I'm paying for the overall house and what I'm going to pay in my interest rate. It's not worth taking these things on. So we're in an interesting place right now, in my opinion. I know stats say it's a buyer's market. We see that it's a seller's market, but it's a kind of that place where we're right in that transition right now. Both really have an equal advantage right now.
I think if we had more inventory, we would be in a full buyer's market.
Mhm.
So I think if you're within the average price range or lower, it's still a seller's market.
Mhm.
But once you start getting in the higher price range, I don't think it's a seller's market because you can't just do anything.
Right.
Interest rates just, it's not feasible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, maybe even last year, one of the faster moving segments of the market was the higher priced houses,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
is not the case anymore.
Yeah. And I
Right.
think that was just due to the low interest rates. People
Yeah.
were reaching up.
You could
Mhm.
afford way more.
They were just grabbing and going. But it's an interesting dynamic that when you were saying the days on the market has gone down,
Yep.
and our inventory has gone up.
Well, I think a lot of that is off-market selling. I think that's one of the things because houses are sitting a heck of a lot longer than they have been. So if you get a bunch of 0 days on the market,
Yeah.
that can skew that number.
Or is it more of if you price appropriately in the market, boom, it's gone. And
Yeah.
then there's a lot of people that are out there like, I'm going to hang on to, 2 or 3 years ago pricing
Mhm.
where they're, wishing for what is not there. But people that figure it out and price appropriately, I mean, it is.
Mhm.
We still are seeing multiple offers
Mhm.
if it's priced right,
Mhm.
which is pretty incredible to see. What about list to sales price? What are we seeing there?
Pretty close. I
Yeah,
think it
not-
was like 97%.
98.8.
98.8%. Wow. So the ones and so this is the important delineation for our audience is this doesn't take into consideration listings that haven't sold because it's actually a list to sold price. So the ones that sell and they sell quickly sell for almost full price.
Now that stat, 98.8, is from current list price, not original list price. Now, original list price, so that's a whole different stat.
Oh, great point. Yeah.
Original is at about 96%. So
you are seeing some movement on the price.
yeah, so people are still wanting to get, the 2021, 2022 list price. The sellers are wanting to, but buyers are starting to bring them down quite a bit.
So then they sit for a little bit, they reduce their price, and then once they reduce their price, they get that offer, and that's 98.8%.
And even 6% off of original list price is not bad. That's a great, it's kind of a win-win, really.
Yeah.
You almost got the full list price. They got a little bit of a deal. It's kind
Yeah.
of what you want to see.
Well, and in the last 4 or 5 years, our market has inflated about 30% too. So we've, most people that are listing their houses right now typically have quite a bit of equity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is interesting. See that there is a lot of equity in homes still. But, it's getting eaten up. I've been seeing some stats lately where people were that had that equity tapped into it with a HELOC or some other things and now have been using that equity. And there's the gap is bridging where, people just had all this discretionary income now, or I should say saved up equity in their homes. Now it's translating into, well, we've turned it into debt. We've bought things. We've had to adjust for inflation. We've pulled out a HELOC against our home, maybe extended some credit cards.
Especially when HELOCs are 9-10% right now.
Yeah.
But that's a hard thing sometimes to explain to a seller. Something that frustrates me. I don't know if you guys run into this a lot, but you'll have somebody that maybe just for round numbers, they bought their house at $100,000 and then they took out a $30,000 or $40,000 line of credit. And now you're trying to sell it at like $170,000 and they're going, but I'm not going to make anything off of it. You are. You've just already spent your equity.
Yeah.
You can't take it 2 or 3 times unless the market keeps going up or you've had it for, 10, 15 years. But it is frustrating when sellers don't realize that you've drained every ounce of equity out already. You've already spent it before you've sold it. And now you want to sell it and you want to walk away with equity. And that's probably not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. I mean, if you needed it then and you've already used it, good for you. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But sometimes people don't realize that, if you take it all out when you go to sell, you might be breaking even, coming out in the hole a little bit, or walking away with nothing or just a little bit. You've already spent what you've got now.
Gosh.
And if you come out of it with a camper and a razor and a bow,
Yeah.
and,
Right. Because that's what people do.
and it's all paid off,
Yeah.
Yep.
then
Yeah.
really that's
Yeah.
a win.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Instead of
sometimes
paying on that
sellers just
HELOC.
don't see that. They just feel like, but I walked away. I
Mm-hmm.
sold it and I have nothing. But you did. You've
Yeah.
already taken you've
Yeah.
already spent all your equity out of it.
Yeah. You got
So-
a bunch of toys.
That thinking on a seller is probably my second least favorite. The other one is I just gave up $10,000 on the price. So they don't, when they have to do a price reduction, it's like, that's not money you had.
Right.
I've already lost 10 grand on this. Like, no. The market said your house wasn't worth that yet.
Right. If you overpriced it 10 grand and then you came down to market
not a
value where it
loss.
should be, exactly. You didn't lose anything. You didn't give it to the buyer. But yeah, sellers do have that thinking. It's hard to sometimes convince them otherwise.
Yeah, that is it.
That's where the communication from the last one comes in. Because a lot of times realtors will be like, but they just dropped the price $20,000. And I'm like, well,
they shouldn't have overpriced it $20,000.
And I'm like, well, my buyer doesn't think it's worth this, let alone the $20,000 more. So
right.
You don't want to say it's not really our problem, but
it's not.
It's not, especially whenever the market's saying it's not worth that. If people aren't putting in offers, that's kind of your answer. And it probably isn't going to appraise for that anyways. And a lot of times I think, it's always the seller that sets the house price, but we give a recommendation. And if someone is coming in wanting to price it 20% higher than market value, we're going to have a conversation because frankly, it's a waste of all of our time to do that. And if you still want to do that, me personally, I might not be the person for you. But if it's, a little bit higher, okay, we can try and see. But if you're coming in wanting the moon,
well,
a little realistic conversation.
Yeah, not only that, the emotional toll it takes on them and it takes on you, and then the expended capital and the resources to list a property at an unreasonable price. I mean, that all things that you don't want to have to go down if you can avoid it. What about interest rates? Our thoughts originally have substance. Then I can't remember if we said they were going to stay steady or go up or down. In fact, when we get to the end of the year,
You all said down.
Did we?
Yep.
Are you sure about that? Because I think you were pretty confident about that last time, and
I was wrong. I was very wrong.
You and I owed some lunches.
It wasn't until half the podcast where I was like, shoot, I lost.
And then I felt bad for making fun of Paul the whole time.
Yeah, that's right.
Only for a second, though.
Only for a moment. Yeah,
I deserved it.
He recovers well.
I think we all said down, but not down by a lot.
Yeah,
like barely down.
I think by the end of the year we will see him down, but I'm not sure we will in the next couple of months.
No, especially with these unprecedented times right now. We'll see if it goes down even by the end of the year.
Yeah, I think the consensus was like low sixes.
Yeah,
I think I was on the high end at like 6.5, if I remember right. But I think they're sitting right now. You can buy down quite a bit, but I think normal are sitting still at 7.
Yeah,
we're right. 6s to 7.
Yep, you're right on point. I just pulled up the average 30-year mortgage today is 6.98%. Yeah. So I mean, we're right at 7%.
The buying down points is driving me crazy right now. Advertising 6.5, but then you're having to buy down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm like, it's so expensive.
And the 3 2-1s. Yep.
Yeah, you have to, and so then you have to calculate, okay, if I'm going to spend this much money to buy down an interest rate, I better be willing to hold on to that asset for so many years to recoup that money. If not, pay a little bit more monthly, and gosh, you really can have some flexibility there. So we've had those conversations are coming back. We used to have those conversations all the time, but before the interest rates dropped so low, it's like, gosh, if you just pay another $30 a month, and you're going to spend $5,000 to buy down an interest rate, how many years are you going to pay $30 a month before you reach $5,000? It's a thing to consider.
That's the great thing, though, is that all of it really is cyclical. It comes around and it changes. It goes from a buyer's market to a seller's market to a buyer's market to a seller's market. And we do have to have these conversations over and over again. So you start realizing that once you've been in the business for a while, you start thinking, I can remember, 5 years ago, I can remember 10 years ago, I can remember 15 years ago, having those conversations, because that used to be a big deal back in the day when what could a seller do for you, and that was something they could really do for you is buy down an interest rate. But the interest rates have been so great for so many years now. That's not something anybody even think. You don't even consider. If you're already getting a 3, why would you buy it down?
Yeah.
Even pre-COVID when it was like 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
Right.
Very reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But once it starts getting up to 6, 7, 8, that starts making a difference whether you can buy this house or not. And that becomes something that's real. But you're right. Why would you do it if you're planning if you have a 3-year plan in the house?
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Don't do that. Save that money.
Yeah.
Buy a new set of pickleball rackets. I mean, wouldn't you?
Take the higher payment.
Yeah.
Keep your cash.
Keep your cash in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So let's pivot over a little bit to actually more of a national level. I just heard a stat. On average, realtors across the nation have closed less than one deal. I mean, they break it out to a percentage, so it's like just under one deal per agent, which is pretty incredible to think about. For the first 6 months of 2025, the average real estate broker or realtor has closed less than one transaction. Pretty incredible. There's been a big slowdown in the real estate market, but it seems like more realtors are joining the industry, which I keep saying realtors are going to fall off because it's unsustainable. But what are Aspen and Paul, what are you seeing in leadership at the local level?
We're up.
We're up.
Yeah.
How many?
Like 2. We were down net 1 when we coming into this year, and we had budgeted for like a 30% fall off.
Yeah.
And then I think now from the last board of directors meeting, I'm pretty sure we're up 2.
Okay.
I might have to double check, but we're right in that.
So it's like a 1%. I mean, it's within the...
Well, from 2022, when everybody started saying we're going to start seeing some drop off, 23 was it 23 or 24 when the settlement came out?
24.
23, and then when it was announced. But everybody's been talking about this huge drop off. I think if the number serves me right, I think we're up 30 from that 2021 timeframe, 2022.
Yeah, interesting.
At the local level. In DC, I was hearing, because we were supposed to lose almost 500,000 people, 50% of realtors across the nation.
Wow, that's doom and gloom right there.
And we haven't.
Wow.
One thing though is like, I wouldn't expect to see a big drop off right now because it's mid-year. You pay your dues at the beginning. Monthly fees aren't exceptionally high. If you cut out everything else and all your marketing and you're just paying to keep your license, right now is really not the time we would see a big drop off anyways. It would be that renewal period at the end of the year. So the fact that we're basically the same as we were at the beginning of the year or up a little bit makes sense. We really won't be able to
up a skosh. So that's actually probably a sign. We're not up 15 or 20 or 30 realtors here locally anyways. That's probably a sign that we're basically at even, that there's probably going to be some falling off at the end of the year when it comes to renewal time, because renewals are expensive.
But I think the ones that we've lost is retirees. And we've been talking, there's an aging population in San Juan County that I think are going to continue to retire, but we have.
Don't you dare.
He looked at you.
He did.
I thought she was going to do this to me. One of these,
you can lean over and you'll be out of
I
camera.
am not the aging population, Ben.
You're younger than me.
But we've been getting a lot of new realtors. I don't know if anybody's been to a luncheon lately.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new people.
A lot of new faces.
Yeah.
A lot of up and comers. Yeah, it's good. It's good. An interesting stat that I heard was, what would you guess? After the settlement, for our audience to know, last year, it's been almost a year, August of 2024, was when the new rules kicked in, where we're trying to decouple commissions, where buyers have their buyer broker and sellers have their listing broker, and compensation is negotiated on either side. What are your thoughts? Have commissions trended down, or have they trended up?
Mine have trended up.
Aspen says up. Shannon? Across the nation.
Across the nation, I think they may have dropped a little bit.
Oh, across the nation? Down. Yeah, probably.
Down?
Yeah, across the nation.
Yeah, I think they probably have gone down a smidge.
Here, I think they're probably steady or down a little bit.
Okay. Paul, your guess?
Up.
Ding, ding, ding. Commissions have actually gone up across the nation.
This is why class action doesn't really serve the public like they think it's going to.
Yeah, it's interesting because that was the whole push, was to, they felt like the realtors had a monopoly on the, on the commissions and the business. And the reality was, it was a fair marketplace, and those could always be negotiated. And what happened was they pushed for this, they broke it up, expecting a result to happen, and it went the opposite way. Commissions have gone higher because now you have buyer brokers fighting for their commission where they didn't as much before.
I was going to say, we didn't really negotiate. It was posted what it was. And unless it was something that you just couldn't work for that, then, then your buyer could come in and pay for it, or you could ask for a little bit more. Yeah. But you kind of just were like, okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, whatever it was, you just work for it.
And now it's, no, this is what my cost is. Your guys' has all gone up? Mine definitely has.
Yeah. Yep. I think it's a fascinating thing that's happened in the marketplace. So, sometimes you have to beware of what you ask for or what you want because it may come true. And I think there's a lot of, it'll be interesting to see over the next few years how that parlays. And if that continues to trend out that way, but you have realtors on both sides now fighting for what they feel is fair compensation on their end. Nothing wrong with that. We take a lot of risk in this business. We do a lot of work. And we're therapists, we're, advisors on many levels. We're the midnight texters, podcasters, everything in between. And then you're never guaranteed a paycheck. And you have to wake up every day. Basically, how'd you say it one time, Paul? Wake up every day. Unemployed. And so you put that into the mix and you have realtors really fighting for their compensation. So let's talk about thoughts on new construction moving forward. Do you think builders are becoming a little gun shy? The market's slowed down a little bit across the nation. What are your thoughts there?
We actually were kind of just talking about this morning. I was telling you how long it's been that I saw a new construction the other day, just a residential. I know that they're out there. I'm not completely blind, but how surprised I was when I realized that we don't see that all the time anymore. We really don't see just neighborhoods being built and 3 new houses on a block. Where we used to see that. We don't see that anymore. But I can tell you, if I were a builder and prices are where they're at and interest rates are where they're at and things might sit on the market a little bit, would I go out and invest and put that kind of money into something and hold it unknown? Probably not.
Yeah.
So I think builders are being a little bit more cautious. They're going to build when they have a buyer in hand, accepted plans, a purchase agreement, a construction loan. Then it makes sense to move forward. So you don't see them just throwing houses up everywhere for people to look at.
Especially in this area.
Yeah.
Because
Why would you do
same building price, you could go build in Colorado.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah.
And you can get 3-4 times the price per square foot.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? Because there's a decent bit of not a ton, but a decent bit of building going on. And there's like subdivisions that have been added onto. And why would you build down here?
Yeah, if you can sell that widget north of the state line and make $20 on it, why would you sell it south of the line and make 10 on it? So It's a very valid point.
Yeah, I think here there's not a lot of construction. And we've seen in the subdivision we're trying to do, there's not a lot of construction, not a lot of builders want to upfront the money. But nationally, I think there's still quite a bit of building. Northern Colorado in the Denver area or just north of Colorado Springs, there's a subdivision going up weekly, it seems like. There's still construction, just not here.
Well, in our neighborhood, like where we live, in my neighborhood alone, there's 3 new houses being built. And that'll pretty much, there'll maybe be 3-4 lots left. So there's building happening. I've noticed a lot where we live right now, but not in the affordable housing sector.
Yeah. Yeah, they call them spec homes, speculatory. You're really kind of putting your neck out there, to your point, Shannon. If you're a builder, high interest rates, lower demand to some degree, uncertainty in the market. Do you want to build a speculatory home? That's the big question. So, but across the nation, we're seeing lower startups on new construction, but new construction sales that are being finished are being gobbled up. So that's happening, but builders are becoming more gun shy across the nation and saying, I don't know if I really want to, pound out 600 homes in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And,
especially with tariffs on lumber from Canada right now, that could be, they could plan to do all of this and the price could be much, much higher whenever they're actually ready to do it.
Yeah.
So that would make it hard to budget.
Yeah. The uncertainties and things move quickly in the market, even on the national level nowadays. Back 20, 30, 40 years ago, it just seemed like it was like a barge when things would move and, it would just take forever to see those hit the market. Now, when things happen, tariffs or, conflicts or policies, it just seems to hit your door pretty quick. So interesting conversation. We're going to wind it up. Thank you for that. That was a great conversation. I do have, next quarter, we're going to be doing something fun. And then the final quarter of the year, we're going to go back to betting. Paul, see if we can earn a lunch back.
Betting. Okay.
Betting. So we'll see. But thank you for this interesting conversation. If you like our content, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Of course, you can go to sjcbroker.com and schedule a private consultation with any one of the partners here at the Lions Group. We'd love to sit down with you and discuss how to get you an advantage in today's market. Whether you're buying or selling, commercial or residential, we can lend a hand and help you out. So thank you for listening to this episode of The Den. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Den, powered by the Lions Group. Hit the subscribe button to keep informed and check the show notes below for direct links to our buyer and seller video series. The buyer and seller video series can give you an inside track on taking the right steps in real estate. If you'd like to learn more about the Lions Group or to schedule a consultation, go to sjcbroker.com. Complex markets require complex strategies. The Lions Group can give you a true advantage in any market. Whether you're buying or selling, residential or commercial, contact us directly at sjcbroker.com. We're time-tested experts with a client-first approach, and we'll see you next time in the Den.